How's it going? How's everybody doing today? Good? Yeah? Are we excited to be here? Yeah? So I'm going to get right into it just because I want to tell you what I'm doing first. So this is something that came out of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but let's put it this way. So I was having a Super Bowl party, and I had the little, the carrots, the cauliflower, your celery, all that kind of stuff that's left over from the dips or whatever else. So that was sitting in my refrigerator, and I was like, man, I'm hungry. I want to make something. So I go to the refrigerator, and I pull out carrots, celery, like a little onion, and I just start chopping it up. And then I go to my cabinet, and I had buckwheat noodles. So literally, this is a buckwheat noodles, a cold salad with salmon. And it came out of my Super Bowl party where everybody was hungry afterwards, and I had to make something. And it turned out to be one of the best things I've ever made. And it completely came out of nowhere. It came out of just me being hungry after the Super Bowl and wanting to make something. So this is one of these things you can do at home. You don't have to be a chef to do these kind of things. That's what I'm here to tell you. This is when I cook, I always think about my family. I'm like, okay, can my brother cook this? Who's right there filming? So he lives in Logan Square, and I'm like, I want to make something where if I was describing it to my brother, he's at home, he's looking in his cabinets, he's trying to figure everything out. Could he cook this? So this is where this came from. That's all right. I can turn it.
That's all right. We got it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. So this is really, really simple. So I'm going to tell it to you before I do it. And then as we go along together, we'll cook it together. So this is just salmon. You can do Lac du Art. You can do any salmon you find at the store. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the salmon. We're going to let it chill and just kind of cool off a little bit. And then I'm going to cook buckwheat noodles. Let those chill out. Let those cool a little bit. And then we're going to put this salad together. And I call it a salad because technically it kind of is. But it's basically a cold noodle salad. And this is one of those things where it goes with like a sesame seed oil and liquid amino acid vinaigrette, which liquid amino acids basically, it tastes like soy sauce. That's the best way to break it down and kind of talk about it. It's this stuff right here. You've probably seen this at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or any other store where they sell really expensive items. But it's delicious. It's super good for you. So we're going to mix that in our salad. So first off, the one thing I always want to get going first is I want to get the salmon going. So, do this right here. Now, you don't have to do all this fancy stuff to the salmon. You can honestly just sear off your salmon, let it cool down, and kind of mix it up. But I do a blackening spice. And I think blackening spice is making a comeback. I've worked in Michelin-star restaurants. I've worked in all these fancy things. And I remember it was kind of embarrassing to talk about blackening your fish. People are like, oh, you don't, blah, blah, blah. That's all gone. There's no more embarrassment about anything anymore. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Don't worry about what's fancy, what's cool. I love blackening spice, so I'm going to do a blackening spiced salmon. So this is a super, super easy one. This is what I call, like I said, this was out of my spice cabinet in my house. And super simple. We're going to do a little bit of smoked paprika. We're going to do a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, dried oregano, and a little bit of dried thyme. If you have fresh, I honestly don't suggest using fresh herbs when you are doing a blackening because it's going to blacken. It's going to get pretty black, and they're really going to burn, and it comes off a little too bitter when they're fresh. So this is cool if you're just making it for your family, call people. Instead of even mixing it, I just put it in a big bowl and I do this. I don't grab the whisk. I don't do anything like that. You can just do this and it's fine. And if you guys have any questions, always shout them out because we'll be calling up people later and see we cook at home. This is really, really simple. We're just going to blacken it up. And you can, I always say this when I'm doing demos, you can kind of tell that I have restaurants and I actually am in the restaurants cooking the food because I don't cook Even though I'm on the cooking channel, I do that kind of stuff. I don't cook like the cooking channel. I'm not doing it all sweet. You can tell I'm in a restaurant because I'm rubbing the salmon. I'm going like there's customers waiting for it. So just generously do it. You don't have to worry about if it's going to be beautiful or not. I just put it all on there. Like I said, being a chef, I kind of like a lot of salt. But for this, I'm going to go a little easy on it because we're going to have the liquid amino acids and a little bit of soy sauce we're going to do in the vinaigrette are going to be super salty. So we don't want too much on there. This is just grapeseed oil. Just turn that down. And if anybody's gluten-free, this is a great cold salad to make because our soba noodles, buckwheat noodles, if you will, are all gluten-free. There are varieties that aren't gluten-free, but this is definitely gluten-free. So I'm just going to blacken these. We're going to wait till that gets a little hotter. And this is one of those things, if you're doing this at home, definitely turn the hood on, the little microwave, anything you want, or open some windows even though it's cold out, because this is going to smoke. This is going to get super, super smoky. All right, this is going to work right here. Perfect. And I'm not really trying to get a crust on here. I'm just blackening it. So I'm going to put a lid on it just because I want it to cook all the way through. And the lid is going to create a little bit of condensation, and it's going to basically steam itself. But the reason I like lids so much when you're cooking and you're not trying to get like a nice sear on it is because all that evaporation, all that salmon, all that flavor is hitting the top of the lid and coming right back down. It's actually not, it is water vapor, but it's salmon flavor. So it's hitting the top and going right back in the bowl, right back in the pan. So you ever seen this when you do that and you shake it all off and it has all that steam? That is steam, but there's no water in this pan. So everything that's coming out of here, anything that's coming out of the salmon is flavor. So this is our pasta water that we have in here. And we kind of have some already done because it can get a little, take it out and to shock it all. But they cook really fast. They cook in about 5 minutes. We get the cooked soba noodles out here too? I didn't see them. They're probably somewhere back there still. We're going to put these in here. Thank you so much. And what I like to do is I like to kind of dip them. And this is the kind of thing that everybody knows to do, but I tell everybody anyways. I take it and I just go swirl it around. And the reason you swirl it and you really want to mix it up and get it cooking in there because I've also done that, even as a professional chef, I've done the little, when you're cooking at home and it's hanging off the side and the burner starts to burn some of the pasta. So I do it all the time still. So I really want to get in there and I really want to start mixing it up. There's a lot of starch in here, so you don't want them to stick together. All right, so while these are cooking, that pasta's cooking. I'm just going to check on it. And then I'm going to put the water vapor back in. You can hear it kind of splatter. I take it off the flame so it doesn't get everywhere and cause a fire. But I always like to check right before I go away from it. It's looking beautiful, actually. Very beautiful. I'm going to turn it over. So even though that is steaming, it's still developing a crust, which is beautiful. That's what I call a happy accident. It's not, I wasn't even trying to get a crust on it, it's already doing it. Very happy accident. So the next thing we're going to do for this salad, if you will, is chop up the vegetables for it. And this is one of those things where this is truly, you don't have to have knife skills. You don't have to, this is really just, like I said, I was after a Super Bowl game making this. You can just chop it up and throw it right in the bowl. I always like to talk to people and ask them questions about how do you cook at home? I'm always interested in hearing how people cook at home because I feel that I cook the same way at home, even though, we're chefs. I feel I cook the exact same way. And the way I cook is whatever's the simplest, whatever I can get done fast, whatever I can kind of throw together. I'm not cooking for the queen over here, Pope's not coming over. I just want to cook something quick, and I want to get it done, and I want it to be delicious. So if you want to go fancy, you could cut them this way, but like I said, this is just one of those things, family style. Gonna throw it to the bowl. And a lot of cooking is listening. I can hear my salmon. I didn't even have to look at it. I can hear it going a little too much, so all I'm gonna do, pull it off the flame, turn the flame off. And just this residual heat, I'm gonna burp it a little bit. That's just basic blackened salmon. I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna steam and cook itself. I'm gonna let it cool off. So I always like to ask people, whenever I do like a cooking demo, I always like to ask people what their go-to is for cooking at home, because like I was just saying, I don't know what people cook at home, and I always like to ask people what's like their favorite go-to thing they cook in their house. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna call on somebody and just shout out what you cook at home. What do you cook at home?
Some eggs and vegetables for breakfast usually. Sweet potatoes, greens, and eggs.
The whole thing is, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people say eggs, and that is the one thing that I always gravitate towards myself, is eggs. It's easy. And if you screw them up, you have scrambled eggs. It's like, it's the one that you can kind of always go to. And pretty much everybody has eggs in their pantry. Anybody else? Anybody else have something they cook at home they're really proud of?
I make mac and cheese pretty frequently in my house because it's requested.
Is this out of the box?
No.
Oh, how do you do your mac and cheese?
I like cavatappi pasta and just usually whatever cheese we have in the fridge. We always have a lot of cheese.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, salt and cumin, and usually it's kind of spicy.
That's one of my go-tos. Is honestly, it's one of those things. Who doesn't love mac and cheese? You have to be a little off to not like mac and cheese. It's a staple in my house, and I always in one of my restaurants I had this mac and cheese that I consider one of the best mac and cheese I've ever had. And the key to this mac and cheese, I'm going to give you a secret. It's a shishito pepper mac and cheese, but we have these like bell peppers or cherry peppers. They come like the brine in the juice. So I'll make my mac and cheese. I'll put my cream down. Your cheese. You can make a fancy bechamel if you wanted to, but I just do the cream, the cheese, a little bit of that pickling juice that those peppers are in. So I chop up the peppers, put them in there, a little bit of that pickling juice, and then here's the key. Here's the piece of the resistance. Is I would do cream cheese. The reason you do cream cheese is because it keeps that cheesiness, that gooiness, but you're not gonna be like, oh, that tastes like cream cheese. Because you're gonna put in you're gonna whisk in your cheddar and everything else in. So you're not really gonna be, tasting cream cheese. But the cream cheese gives it that consistency of the kind you find in a restaurant where it's thick and gooey mac and cheese. So that's kind of a cool little secret that you whisk it in, heat up your cream, all your stuff, throw it in with your cheddar, and it's perfect. Yeah. So I like to give, a little secret, see? Please don't open a restaurant. And
What kind of seasoning did you use for blackening? I guess I missed it.
What kind of seasoning?
Did you use for blackening?
It's onion powder, garlic powder, smoked paprika, a little bit of cayenne, dried thyme, and dried oregano. Yeah. And salt. Yeah. And the key is salt. And a lot of people I know go low salt, but you have to do salt. It's one of those things that really brings out the flavor. It brings out the flavor of the salmon. And if you notice, this is the burner's not even on, and it's still, see how it's still going? So that's the key to cooking, is knowing when something's about to be done. So it's been done, but keeping that lid on there and keeping it on the hot burner is what kept it cooking. Now I want this to be a little cooler for when I do this, for when we actually put it in the salad. So, and this is the finger test. The finger test is, if it's just tiny bit, it's cooked all the way through. If you can push down at all, that's that jelly in the middle. That means it's not cooked, but these are beautiful. And I want them to stop cooking and cool down, so I'm going to take them out of the pan and just set them on a clean plate. And we're going to do this because it's not healthy and it's delicious. There we go. All right. So if I was going to I already have some soba noodles that are cooked off and done, but these are finished, and what I would normally do is just take them out, put them in some ice water and shock them. A lot of Italians or anybody who does pasta is going to tell you, don't ever shock your pasta. Don't put it in ice water. But honestly, for a cold noodle salad, you want to stop the cooking process. You don't want them to overcook and get mushy. But classically, when you do pasta, do it fresh. Take it out of the water, let it cool room temperature if you're going to use it the next day, or if you're going to use it a little bit later. But I'm a restaurant guy. Sometimes I shock my pasta because I want it to be at I want to say al dente. I want it to be as al dente as I want it to be. So I don't want it to be too mushy. I don't want it to be undercooked. So I always shock it in ice water. That's how I always do mine. They say not to, but nobody's found out yet. And I have, nobody in the restaurant's been like, hey, this mac and cheese was shocked. So that's kind of how I cook. Is like for being a chef, I'm like the anti-chef. I don't play by the rules really. So this is just a little bit of garlic. So I was chopping up scallion, carrot, celery, and this fresh garlic is going to go in our vinaigrette. And then also a little bit of shallot. And when I made this recipe at home, I didn't have shallot, I had onion, so I used onion. Once again, whenever you're doing a recipe with anything at all, you can always do whatever you want to do. If something's missing, who cares? Just have fun when you cook. That's all I've ever wanted to do anyways. It's funny because going out, having the cooking channel show, Food Truck Nation, I go around and I cook and I get to see a lot of really cool food trucks and the people behind them and what they're making. And you'd be surprised how many people aren't chefs. They're like home cooks. They're a husband and wife team who wanted to open up a food truck, and their recipes were like passed on from their grandmother and their mother, and they're not. They're not doing things the way chefs would do them. They're not cooking that way, and guess what? It doesn't matter. Their food was it's made with love, and it's so good that the way they're doing it came out even 10 times better than I could do it. And it's because of that tradition they put into it. And that's how I always like to cook too. It's like if you don't want to do this, you don't have garlic at home, don't put garlic in it. Unless it's like a garlic pasta, then you better go buy some garlic. But other than that, you can do anything you want. All right. So I got some garlic and shallot chopped up. And this is going to go in my bowl. Let me find a bowl real quick, this one. So let's do a round bowl. So I put the garlic and the shallot in my bowl. And here's where it gets, I wouldn't say use a recipe, but here's where it gets where you kind of need to watch it a little bit. You kind of, not exact measurements, but if you put too much liquid amino acid in, it's going to be salty. You put too much vinegar in, it's going to be vinegary, kind of one of those things. Also, too much sriracha. But also, here's how I eyeball things. Any kind of vinaigrette you do is always 2 to 1. 2 parts oil to 1 part vinegar. So always just remember, if you're making a vinaigrette at home, 2 fingers of your vinegar, 4 fingers of your olive oil. So that's how I kind of even measure. Even to this day, I learned that in culinary school, I don't know how many years ago, 20 years ago, and I kind of still use that method. So this is a super, super simple one. We're going to go liquid amino acids. And like once again, this is really salty. This is closest to soy sauce as you'll ever find. Yeah, let's do a little more. So that this is, even I, who have the recipe and wrote it down, and it's online, even I'm like, I don't know, this much in there, that's fine. Sriracha, I like mine a little spicy, but also the sriracha is like thick, so it's kind of going to hold it a little bit together. If you don't have sriracha, you can use garlic chili sauce is fine. Here's some apple cider vinegar. You can use any kind of vinegar you want except red wine. That's the only thing that kind of doesn't work with the soy sauce and with the liquid amino acids. Alrighty. And this is a little bit of soy. And once again, because I use so much liquid amino acids, you don't need too much soy sauce because it's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of salt level. And this is just sesame seed oil. always get toasted sesame seed oil when you're using, basically when you want that sesame seed oil flavor, because there are neutral sesame seed oils, and you don't want that. You want to have the nice roasty toasted flavor. And I always give it a smell, because what I'm doing right now is I'm seeing how roasted it is. I'm seeing how toasty it is. And since this is really roasted, I'm already going to cut it with a little bit of olive oil, because I don't want this to taste like fried rice. I don't want it to taste like Chinese food. I'm just adding this for a roasted flavor. And this is a really good brand, and it smells really roasty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my sesame seed oil, and then I'm going to cut with grapeseed oil. So it's not super, super roasted in your face. And also what I'm going to do is I added the apple cider vinegar, any kind of vinegar you want. I'm also going to add lemon juice, because lemon juice, even though it adds the acid, it also adds a freshness. So you want that freshness when you cook. That's probably plenty of that. A little bit of grapeseed. And once again, you can tell when I cook, I cook like a restaurant guy. Everything's kind of fast. I'm grabbing everything that's going in there. But that's the way I cook at home, because whenever I cook, I kind of want to get it done and eat. That's when I cook, unless you're having a glass of wine or something like that, then you can really enjoy the moment. But I kind of go pretty fast with it. And also, this is the key, is taste it. Always, always taste it. Don't ever trust a recipe, except mine. Mine you can trust. Wow, Brad, that's perfect. Good for me. That came out perfect. The only thing is I'm going to add a little more oil, just because I want the mouthfeel of the oil, not because it needs more oil. All right, that's pretty perfect. Lemon juice, once again, not for the acid, just to make it fresh. Little lemon trick, I'm sure everybody might know this trick. See those seeds in there? You can either cut it like this on the side, like this, and have no seeds in it whatsoever, but you waste a lot of the lemon juice that way. Or just don't do this, like this. Put it up against your hand and do that. And just squeeze. You can do this, and it gets all of it out, and you don't get any seeds in there, because I'm pressing it right up against my skin. Little things like that. It's the little things. It's the little things that you learn. So making sure that's mixed up. I'm going to go touch my salmon and just make sure it's not too hot for the buckwheat noodles. That's actually perfect. So what I'm going to do is take all, this is so simple. I can't stress that enough. This is so simple. These are the cooked buckwheat noodles. I have a bowl over here where I'm going to mix everything in. So I'm going to put it over here so you guys can kind of see it. And this depends on how saucy you like. It's like when somebody eats a salad, I would say dress this the way you're going to, like how you eat salad. Some people love to, I'm one of them, we douse ranch or, Thousand Island all over our greens, and that's the way I like it. Some people like, I like a little bit of, dressing on the side. So just dress this how you would normally eat a regular salad. But keep in mind, it's a vinaigrette, so vinaigrettes are a little stronger. When you have like a ranch or blue cheese, any kind of dressing like that, the fat is, you can have the fat in your mouth. When you have one of these salads, you really want to watch how much you dress it, because it could easily get overpowering. And I know I keep saying this is easy and everything else, but this is really one of those things at home that just cook this, chop up vegetables, anything you have in the fridge, and make this vinaigrette. You don't even have to have the salmon, and this is one of the best tasting things that I've ever made. I always like to stir up my vinaigrette, especially when you fresh make a vinaigrette. Don't just go like this. A lot of people do it. I'm guilty of it too. You start adding your vinaigrette in, but see how it's separated already? See the fat is separated from everything else? So you want to kind of get it going. You're going to race it there. You want to get it emulsified. And as it's emulsifying, it's mixing in, the oil's mixing in with the soy, and it's kind of like a little race. There. Perfect. And once again, I'm going to mix it up and I'm going to taste it. And this is the exact way I do it at home too. When I go to taste something, in a demo kitchen, you're supposed to do no, just taste it. It's one of those things, don't worry about who's looking. Once again, that's amazing. That is so good. I want to freshen it up, just so I like a little more fresh lemon. And then once again, I like to cook and I like to do the demos just like I would do at home. And what do you do at home? You take your cutting board, you move it to the edge of your table, and you just throw everything in there. I've worked in all these fancy restaurants, and I've been fancy for so long that now I just want to cook like I cook at home, and that's the way I do things. You just bring it to the edge, bring it all in there, and mix it up. See how simple this is? It's such a simple salad. And mine was literally, literally bred out of the leftover carrots, onion, and celery from my, crudité platter at my house on Super Bowl Sunday. So I'm just going to give it a good mix. And this is, I know we're not supposed to feed people, but this is one of those things where it looks good. You were listening, you saw me make it. It tastes about 10 times better than you can ever possibly imagine. And you're going to see how fancy I do the salmon too. So, salmon, we'll do this. Right? That's it. Goes right in. Now when we plate it up, we'll go a little nicer. But I like to mix it in. Just get it all coated. And I would say don't worry about, breaking up the salmon. Be rough with it. It's fine. Make sure, I want to get a little of that blackening spice on those noodles also. This is such a good salad. All right, before we plate this up, who doesn't like salmon? Okay, why don't you like salmon? If you can just scream it. You don't like fish? Okay. I'm getting serious when I set this down, right? So there's a lady in the audience today who never liked fish. She didn't like salmon. Her name is Brad's mom. She's in the front row right here. Yes, I have restaurants and show and cooking channel, and my mother is here to support. Always comes and supports me. She hated salmon, and wouldn't eat it, would never eat it. She's like, I don't like fish, I don't like salmon, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Mom, come to my restaurant, eat the salmon, let me cook a piece of fish for you. I'm not gonna make it fancy. I'm just gonna cook fresh fish, and I'm gonna cook it the right way. And she wouldn't lie to me. She would tell me the honest to God truth, and she's converted, right? Completely converted. Now she loves salmon. Yeah, see, it's a thing. So if anything, even if you don't like fish, dive into it one more time and have it cooked fresh and just done the right way. Kind of like this. The blackening spice is a good transition into not liking, if you don't like fish or if you don't like salmon, because it kind of tones down that super salmon-y, fishy, fatty flavor. That blackening spice really tones it down. And especially when you mix it in a salad like this, you're not getting just pure fish, and it really is light and airy, and it's really delicious. If you wanted to. Not trying to force it, but it's one of those things where I've converted somebody before, and she would be honest with you and tell you if she didn't like it. But it's the best way to have it. So for the plating, once again, like if I was at home, I just go right into the bowl. I'm not going to be too fancy with it. If I'm having dinner with my girlfriend, I'm going to make sure I get more bits of salmon in it, because that's the beauty of the guy plating it up. I can put more salmon in mine. So I just saw that face. You do the exact same thing. You're like, oh, we're getting equal salmon. It's fine. And we're going fancy way of plating is when you can see how I'm going up. I'm making it kind of tall. Just like that, and this is Brussels sprouts. And this is where it comes in fancy. That's basically the main part of it, is all that. But here's where it gets a little fancy. I just take Brussels sprouts, and I just shave them. You can mix it in the actual salad, but I like to kind of garnish with it. Same thing with the radishes. These are kind of restaurant tricks to making things look beautiful. You serve that at a restaurant, you still get whatever you want for it, but what separates like the fancy pants restaurants is garnishing. So we're gonna do that, and a little scallion. And I'm kind of strategically placing the radishes in there. This is basically cookbook style of plating. And then fresh scallion over the top. And that's how to make it look like it's a pretty fancy dish, which it is. And it's just such a simple, simple dish. But this really is one of the most fast, easy, and amazing dishes you could ever make. So that's it. Hope you guys go home. Hope you guys try it. Thank you so much. We're not supposed to give this to people, but you seem really excited. Do you want to try this? Yeah, come try it. Anybody who gives me that face who's excited, I want you to try it. I'll get you a spoon too.
Great.
Yeah.
I have to remind you, you can't feed people.
Oh, okay. Try that.
Thank you.
And tell me what you think. Or use your fingers. It's fine too. That's fine. Yeah.
Want me to face them and do
Yeah. What do you think? I want honest opinion time. It's good, isn't it? It's shockingly good. It's one of those things you almost have to have everybody try it. It's shockingly good. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for listening. Please try these at home. This is such an easy dish. It's so fun. It's so cool. Please try it at home. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Chef Brad Miller, everyone.